5 fires in 2 days. The American Red Cross stretching resources as far as they can after a very busy 4th of July. More than 24 people needing assistance after the holiday. And now the Red Cross could use a little help of its own. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Latoya Silman.
And I'm Jim Snyder. Glad you're with us tonight. Let's get right to News 3's Denise Rosh live in downtown Las Vegas. And Denise, they're looking for more volunteers.
Yeah, Jim, while monetary donations are always appreciated, it is bodies the Red Cross truly needs right now. Volunteers willing to go out and help after a disaster and an emergency. Already this summer, they have been put to the test.
And the flames were leaped all up over the roof, and the heat was so intense.
Ruth Sewasky watched in horror as her next-door neighbor's home went up in flames Monday night.
The neighbors were out here with hoses, and they said, "Get out of that house."
It was just before 11 o'clock after all the 4th of July festivities had settled down. Fire spreading first through the garage. Fortunately, no one was hurt.
It was really scary.
Now the family is being helped by the American Red Cross, one of 5 house fires volunteers responded to on July 4th and 5th.
This time of year is always a little bit busier for us.
Rachel Flanagan is executive director of the Southern Nevada chapter, who says step 1, assess a person's individual needs following a disaster.
We start out, we give a little bit of money up front so that way they have somewhere to stay or they have opportunities to be able to find clothing or things that they need to replace right away. And then we stay with them for about 30 to 45 days to ensure that they're getting what they need.
And that often means connecting with partner organizations. Flanagan says in the last fiscal year, the Red Cross gave out more than $230,000 in financial support.
But we need volunteers. So our volunteer base is getting run pretty ragged, obviously, when you hear about this many fires happening.
This was my man cave extraordinaire. I called it my shediminium.
Including the one at Tracy Selvage's place on the morning of the 4th. He says it started in a minivan on the driveway.
We ran to go get the fire extinguisher, come back, and it didn't work. And within another minute and a half, there was 20-foot flames coming out the top of this bad boy.
Now the power to his home is cut. Money provided by the Red Cross being spent on food.
Everything you see pretty much is either going to go to the trash or a recycle yard.
And all of this just 2 weeks after a 4-alarm fire in downtown Las Vegas. 10 buildings destroyed, 100 people displaced. The Red Cross was there too.
If you can't volunteer, please consider a donation or a donation of blood even. All of those things can really help us in the event of a disaster.
And the donations made here stay here?
They absolutely do. So you can go to redcross.org and go to donate, and you can actually choose your local Red Cross.
COVID outbreaks and staffing shortages leading to big problems at Nevada's prisons. Inmates say they're stuck in conditions that are just like solitary confinement.
New here at 11, News 3's Maria Thompson investigates what led to the problem and the new push to fix it.
There are 2 ways Nevada's prisoners can end up in segregation. The first is for disciplinary reasons, breaking the prison's rules of conduct, for example. But there is a second way called administrative segregation, or ADSEG for short. Nevada law provides inmates can fall under this classification for many reasons besides misconduct, like health and safety, pending transfers to another facility, or waiting for a hearing. Prisoners now sharing with me that ADSEG keeps them in isolation for a long time.
Since May of 2018, I've been a total of 34 months in solitary confinement.
Joshua Chavira's history with incarceration goes back to his childhood, in and out of the system since he was 16 years old. How long have you been at High Desert?
16 months.
We spoke with Chavira in March, locked up at High Desert State Prison, classified as administrative segregation, pending transfer back to Ely State Prison. He compares ADSEG to solitary confinement.
Showers are caged in, so it's a single shower. You have multiple showers next to each other, but they're caged in, so you're placed in a cage in the shower. Anytime we're out of the cell, we're in handcuffs.
In normal housing units, inmates are allowed to leave without needing 3 guards to escort them. In segregation, inmates are locked inside 23 hours a day. only getting out for 1 hour of yard time.
It wears on me. It wears on you. It's just being in a cell by yourself all day. You don't have a chair to sit in so I'm in a bed all day. My body aches just from laying around all day.
For years, he filed grievance after grievance with the state.
Thus far, I have been housed in solitary confinement for 222 days.
Those were denied.
I feel helpless. I feel hopeless.
The state wrote it's because Chavita tried to escape, and he must stay segregated that way until he's taken back to Ely.
Basically, I'm just sitting here in limbo with no idea where I'll be, where they'll place me. They seem to have no place for me. So their solution is just to keep me in solitary confinement.
I recently learned Chavita was returned back to the general population this month, but he's not alone.
There's hundreds of us. It's not just me going through this right now.
We sent a records request to Nevada's Department of Corrections asking for the total number of inmates in both disciplinary segregation and administrative segregation at each facility. As of June 6th, there were 904 prisoners in ADSEG and 122 in disciplinary. Most of those in administrative segregation are at High Desert and Southern Desert Correctional Center. Lawyers for the ACLU of Nevada say while the classification may be different, the conditions are very much the same.
But of course, your quality of life ends up being very similar, right? That you are locked down, you can't get out, you can't have the same access to, the commissary.
Chris Peterson mentions another difference, a surprising one.
Your quality of life in the moment is just as bad, but you may not have as many protections.
That's because there's a strict process in place for inmates in segregation because of discipline. There's also no cap on the length of time someone can be held in ADSEG.
The harm that goes along with putting someone in solitary, it's now impacting people who were never supposed to be in those conditions, and there's no justification for having them there.
Chavita waited for an answer, while he says his mental health got worse each day.
I get so overwhelmed and so anxious, I want to be back in my cell, which I usually want out of.
The prison has an obligation to take care of those people. And it's not just an obligation that's like a moral obligation. It is a legal obligation under the Eighth Amendment to take care of them. What we're seeing here is that's not happening.
So what are the prisons doing? What are Nevada state leaders doing? I've reached out to NDOC for interviews, to your Attorney General, Aaron Ford, who sits on the Board of Prisons. He didn't want to talk about it. NDOC replied via email saying reviews of prisoners in ADSEG are conducted every 30 days to figure out if they should remain there. High-risk threat reviews are every 6 months. For the full statement, head to news3lv.com. Meantime, the ACLU is now working on a way to share the stories of people kept in segregation. I'll have more on that in part 2 of this story Thursday at 11.
What goes up does in fact come down. That's the takeaway from the latest snapshot of our local housing market.
Yeah, cooling a little bit. We haven't said this in a while. The median price of a local resale has just dropped. Our Jeff Gillen's been looking at the numbers and brings us this report.
Hi, everybody from a local neighborhood. We're learning something, that after a couple years, Las Vegas's housing market is in fact susceptible to gravity. What had been going up and up and up does indeed come down. The median price of a resale in June sat at $480,000, down $2,000 from May. Not a lot, but it's the first time the median price has dipped since April 2020. And condos, what had become the more affordable option, saw a median resale of $280,000, down $5,000 from May. This market is taking a breather. About time, says the head of Las Vegas Realtors, the group that tracks local resales.
We've been saying for months, ever since my presidency anyway, that the crazy increases in prices was unsustainable.
There are other indicators the market is moving from sizzle to simmer. In May, almost 89% of homes were selling within a month. In June, that number dropped to just over 86%. The number of homes now taking 1 to 2 months to sell jumped from 7% in May to about 9% in June. Not much, but the days of getting multiple offers after a day or two on the market may be ending. Realtor Evan Bellman tells his sellers to be patient and realistic.
We're just kind of given the realization that it is taking a little bit longer. You have to be smarter about the asking price.
Inventory is also rising. At the end of June, there were 5,746 homes on the market without an offer. That's up 61% from May and up 134% from a year ago. All good news for buyers, says realtor Vanda Nabala.
So buyers are seeing that they have way more inventory to pick from, which has been incredible for them, because they can be a little bit more realistic about what they want, and they can actually go after it versus before they were giving away their firstborn.
Experts say the market is slowing but stable. The median price is still up 22% from a year ago. Brandon Roberts expects prices to stabilize and inventory to grow. He does not see any drastic price dips on the horizon.
I think it's still a great time to buy. It's a great time to sell if you need to. The market's still strong. And so real estate's not going anywhere.
In Las Vegas, Jeff Gillen, News 3.
So we wanted to know how you are feeling about the market right now, and here's what you're saying on Facebook. Greg writing that prices are going to have to go down a lot more for him to get excited. Minerva says she wishes real families in need of their first home could all find their starter home. And Ronnie says now that home prices are going down, he wishes they would drop rent prices too.
Hi everybody, I'm Reed Cowan from News 3 Las Vegas. We want to thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Remember, you can always see more of our videos by clicking on the video links. And also don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our YouTube updates. Thanks for watching.